Hello everyone, and welcome back to the MSSU Summer Show. I'm your host, Scott Humphreys, and today with me, I have Dr. Charlo, the head of the Performing Arts Department. Thank you for being here with me today. So, what made you want to major in music and teach it?
Yeah, I think the initial thing that got me into music education was the act of conducting, and I always wanted to be a conductor ever since I was probably in junior high, and so that was sort of the route to be able to get in front of a group, and so then I knew immediately when I graduated from high school that that's what I wanted to do, and of course auditioned and went to college and started that career, which has been, I think, rewarding. I think this is my 32nd year of teaching, and I've taught high school, a little bit of middle school, and then college for the most of the time. 12 years of high school, so pretty good time in the sort of the trenches, if you will.
Yeah, I always like conducting just because it's, I don't know, for me it's just fun. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
For me it's fun. I know I'm not doing it mostly correct, but it's just fun to do. So walk us through like a music education degree. What are the most important classes and
Sure.
projects students work on?
Yeah, so a music ed degree is probably the most intense degree on campus, and it's the most hours, and that's because you are getting basically a full music degree. As a musician, you have to be a proficient musician, and musicianship, building that and increasing your abilities takes time. And so a person who is doing music education will basically get a music degree and then the education degree. And so that's about 140 hours at most universities. Some universities will, for example, have the credits be 1 credit, but they're still going to be meeting a couple times a week. And so their degree may perhaps look like less hours, but here I try to make sure that we equate the number of credits with the number of hours that they meet in the academic classes, because and a lot of universities do that as well. And so regardless of how it's sort of equated, your degree is in music ed, anywhere you go, is going to be quite intensive and probably the most hours on campus. You got to have the theory you got to have the conducting, you've got to have the history, you have to have the applied and be able to, if you're an instrumentalist, be proficient on your instrument. If you're a vocalist, be a proficient vocalist. And again, that takes about, usually, we try to squeeze it into 4 years on paper, but usually most music ed degrees are going to take you about 5 years to complete. Certainly when I was an undergrad many years ago, that was the case for me as well.
So I mentioned, I had you walk us through the music education, but I'm assuming that's the most popular degree, but what are all the career paths you can take just going into music?
Right. So, a person, for example, going into music ed to start off there was probably inspired by their high school music teacher, or at least their middle school, junior high music teacher. I certainly was inspired by my high school music teacher. I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. I love the conducting, as I said. I love that ability to lead a group, and admired that, in him, and so I chose that. So most music ed people are going to do that. Now, the others who choose perhaps music performance, they too were probably inspired by their former music ed teacher, in high school, but they choose to maybe perform. So that may be a variety of places. as if you're going to do a music performance degree, probably what's going to happen is not only will you be performing on stage and with ensembles and in a professional sense, but probably what you'll do is go on to do a master's and a doctorate and then teach privately. And so that you'll have a studio that you teach privately, but then you also have other performances that you'll be hired on a professional basis. The other paths we have, of course, are industry. So people who would like to maybe get into the recording industry or get into advertisement in recording industry, that sort of thing. So we have the industry degree. We also have, very happy that we got this started a couple years ago, a Bachelor of Music with an emphasis in elective studies. So someone who perhaps has an interest in specifically business, or someone who might have an interest specifically in psychology, may choose a Bachelor of Music and then add that emphasis, about 20 hours in that emphasis. So for example, if you wanted to become a music therapist, as long as you have a Bachelor of Music degree, you can go on to pursue that music therapy degree in a master's to be certified. But you might choose here at Southern, for example, the Bachelor of Music in Elective Studies, and then do that elective studies either in health sciences or like psychology, for example. So many different options, really. The music performance may have their private studio, but then they may, as I said, go on and teach college and have a private studio there. So there's lots of opportunities, and I'm really happy with the degrees we have here, especially when you consider the music industry degree and the elective studies, that there's several options for those who maybe do not want to teach and maybe who do not want to perform.
So, I mean, that's great that it has several different outlets, because it gives people who are not only interested in music, it gives them something else other than just, you can perform or you can teach. That's it. It gives them I like music, but I want to do this, or it gives you a broad thing like music therapy. You want to help people, but at the same time, you want to be involved in music. So I think that's good that you can do both. And
right, exactly. And again, I think the elective studies, what's nice about that is that somebody can come in and sort of design their degree, because the elective studies, they have a lot of leeway in being able to decide, what can I pair with this? So, we may come up with ideas, but they may have a better idea of like, well, if I do this and do that, then I can maybe do this. And so that gives them the chance to be quite choosy and selective, and will meet their own personal needs.
So, do you feel the musical arts are seen as more or less important now, or compared to where they used to be?
Well, I think I would preface to say that COVID, the last couple of years, has really hurt the arts. And I think too, for a while there was also hurting, for example, athletics, because there couldn't be that chance to observe a game or a production. And so we had a lot of people that may have come to college at that time, but decided not to, in terms of, am I going to be, is this degree going to be worth it? Because it seemed like, the sky was falling at the time. That said, there has definitely been a resurgence, right, since COVID is hopefully, waning away. Probably never go away, but at least maybe in the sense that it's going to be containable. And so with that, people are hungry for entertainment. And so do I think, as we look at now, the arts. Probably the arts maybe are going to become even more important because anytime there has been any catastrophic event, the arts have always flourished out of that catastrophic event. So I think we're going to probably see a resurgence and probably even more interest in the performing arts because of that. You know, out of bad comes good. So I think we're going to see more energy, perhaps more funding, at least I'm hoping, in that sense.
I personally think you're very right, just because, you know, at least in my standpoint, music has always been just a good outlet. It takes away from the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did a lot of musicals, and when I would do musicals, it gets you out of the current world, and you're not thinking about it. You're not thinking about current, you know, you're not thinking about current problems, whether it be financial, physical, relationship. Right. You're not thinking about them. It's just you're surrounded. So I think you're very right. As things are coming back to normal, people are gonna resurge or go back
right.
into that of they just want to be surrounded. So real quick, before we go, can non-music majors join, do the musicals and choirs?
Yeah, absolutely. I know from my own experience as a performer, as a student back in the day, and then of course now as a longtime educator, that we want our ensembles, if you will, whether they're music or acting, for example, in a play or a musical. We want our ensemble filled with not just majors, but non-majors as well, because the performing arts, music, theater, for example, people can do that well past, you know, being able to perhaps run a marathon or you know, play football or basketball or whatever. And they can carry that with them. So having those involved is really important. When you consider somebody not majoring in music, but is in our music ensembles, they may go on to become a business person and then be able to financially support the arts, and because of their love of the arts. We have scholarships available for both majors and non-majors to perform in our ensembles. And to be in our shows. For example, music theater, and I forgot to mention the music theater degree, which is thriving here at Southern. You know, we want, and we have certificates, you know, people can get, for example, in music theater. So perhaps they want to be a criminal justice major. They might want to put on a certificate to do musical theater and be able to get that, and then, you know, be able to be in our productions. So that was a long-winded way of saying absolutely.
Perfect. Well, so I would like to thank you once again for being here with me today. If any of you would like to learn more about the performing arts here at MSSU, please Google their department page, and you'll find all the answers you're looking for there. As always, I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and tune in next time to find out if I truly do only have two polos.